Today, we're leaving the beaches of Cancun behind and heading deep into the Yucatán to experience something truly special, something you won't find at restaurants or tourist spots. We're traveling to a tiny village called Yaxunah, a place where traditions are still alive, where Mayan culture is part of everyday life, and the food is made the way it has been for generations. And we're here for one of the most authentic culinary experiences you can have in this part of Mexico. The unearthing of Cochinita Pibil, cooked the traditional way, buried underground. We'll be learning from a well-known Yucatecan chef who prepares it just like her ancestors did. She marinates the meat with achiote and sour orange, wrapping it in banana leaves and slow cooking it for hours in a pibil, the underground oven the Maya have used for centuries. It's more than just trying a dish. It's about connecting with a culture, a community, and a culinary tradition that has been passed down through families for hundreds of years. So come with us to Yaxunah to meet the people, learn the process, and taste Cochinita Pibil the way it was meant to be enjoyed. Trust us, this is going to be unforgettable. Cochinita Pibil is one of the most traditional and beloved dishes of Yucatán. It's made from pork, marinated in a special red spice paste and sour orange juice, then wrapped in banana leaves and slow-cooked for hours in an underground oven. This ancient Mayan cooking method gives the meat its incredibly tender texture and smoky, earthy flavor. It's typically served with handmade tortillas, pickled red onions, and a touch of habanero for heat. You'll find Cochinita Pibil on almost every menu in Yucatán and Quintana Roo. We've tried it in so many different places. It's always delicious. We completely fell in love with it. But we wanted to try the real deal, the most authentic version of Cochinita Pibil, prepared the way it has been for generations. So we went off the beaten path to find a chef who still cooks it in the traditional Mayan way. And we found her. In collaboration with Mexico Lindo Cooking, a company offering unique and authentic culinary experiences throughout Quintana Roo and Yucatán, the world-famous Mayan chef Rosalía Chay Chuc welcomes guests into her home in the heart of Yucatán for an immersive cooking experience. Here, you'll learn about and taste two beloved Mayan dishes, Cochinita Pibil and relleno negro, all served with fresh handmade tortillas. Best of all, you can book everything online, so once we discovered it, we didn't hesitate for a second. We signed up for what turned out to be a truly unforgettable experience. Rosalía Chay Chuc is a renowned Mexican chef, celebrated for her authentic Mayan dishes, recipes that trace their roots back over 1,500 years. She gained international recognition after being featured on Netflix's Chef's Table Barbecue, where an entire episode was dedicated to her cooking. The experience takes place in Yaxunah, a small Mayan community in the state of Yucatán. It's home to around 150 families, roughly 650 people. The first language here is Yucatec Maya, although most residents also speak Spanish. Rosalía was born and raised in Yaxunah, and she still lives there today. Rather than operating a restaurant, she welcomes guests into her family home, where she cooks using ancient methods. The dishes are prepared in her backyard, using an underground oven and an open-air kitchen, with the help of her family. Many of the ingredients come directly from the family's ancestral land, grown and cultivated completely naturally. What makes this experience so special is that you don't just taste the food, you get to witness the entire process happen right in front of you. Cochinita Pibil is traditionally cooked in a pibil, an underground oven, which locks in all the flavors of the pork, marinated in achiote paste, citrus juices, and spices, giving it that signature taste and deep reddish color. This ancient cooking technique is deeply rooted in Mayan culture. and experiencing it in a small, secluded village like Yaxunah really brings you closer to the dish's authentic origins. If you're curious to learn more about the history of Cochinita Pibil, we wrote a detailed article. You'll find the link in the description below the video. The experience with Chef Rosalía in Yaxunah is about a 3-hour drive from the Riviera Maya and 20 minutes from Chichen Itza. To make the trip even more special, we spent the night in nearby Valladolid. And we'll share more about that magical town in our next video. Our experience started at 11 a.m., so we grabbed some breakfast, packed our gear, and hit the road. Yaxunah is about an hour from Valladolid. This tiny Mayan community is in the middle of nowhere, and it doesn't get more authentic than this. There are only a couple of streets, and there's pretty much no cell signal, so get ready to unplug. The experience began with a short introduction and a bit of history. Each guest introduced themselves, shared where they were from, and even said a few words in their native language. We had a very international group that day. Chef Rosalía also welcomed us with a few words in her native Mayan language, which made the moment extra special.
Bishabeles, Maluking, Inkaba tene Rosalía.
After the introductions, Chef Rosalía explained the origins of the dish and then showed us where the meat comes from. A local pig breed that's small, dark, and, to our surprise, almost completely hairless. We'd heard of Mexico's famous hairless dogs, but hairless pigs were new to us. This breed, known as the cerdo pelon, the Yucatán hairless pig, has been used for generations to make authentic cochinita. Next, Chef Rosalía prepared 3 classic Yucatecan recados, or traditional seasoning pastes, all from scratch. The white one, the red one, which is achiote-based, and the black one, known as chilmole. These are recipes she learned from her mother and grandmother, passed down through the generations.
Hola, bienvenidos. Hoy les voy a enseñar cómo hacer un recado blanco, que es la base del rojo y del negro. Estas recetas que yo los aprendí de mi mamá y de mi abuela. Ellas me enseñaron cómo hacer una pasta o un recado.
Chef Rosalía explains everything in Spanish, but if you don't speak it, no worries. A Mexico Lindo cooking representative will be with you the entire time to translate and guide you through everything in excellent English. Chef Rosalía started with recado blanco, the white seasoning paste that forms the base for both the red and black recados. Using a metate, the traditional Mesoamerican stone grinding tool, she skillfully ground Yucatecan oregano together with garlic, black peppercorns, cloves, and cinnamon, adding just a splash of water to blend everything into a paste. Recado blanco is commonly used to marinate meat or to add flavor to soups and broths, especially because it doesn't change the color of the dish. It's a staple in everyday Yucatecan cooking and is usually made fresh each day. Chef Rosalía explained that she prefers preparing recado blanco fresh every time, since even a few days of storage can dull its flavor. Many of the ingredients come straight from Chef Rosalía's backyard. Achiote pods, chili piquin, sour oranges, and native oregano are all readily at hand. Next came the recado rojo, or red spice paste. Chef Rosalía ground achiote seeds into a rich, fragrant paste. Originally, it wasn't made for everyday meals. It was reserved for special occasions. Cochinita Pibil itself used to be a celebration dish served at weddings and important family events. Today, recado rojo is still the star ingredient for cochinita, but it's also used to flavor chicken, beans, and many other Yucatecan dishes. In contrast, recado negro, The black spice paste begins by charring chilies until they're almost completely black. Then they're ground with cloves, oregano, peppercorns, and achiote. This paste is essential for relleno negro, another centuries-old Mayan dish. With its deep black color and smoky, complex flavor, it's also considered a festive meal, especially during Hanal Pishan, the Mayan Day of the Dead. We tasted each recado, and the flavors were incredible and seriously spicy. Most of the ingredients used in these dishes today were introduced by the Spanish. The cooking technique itself existed long before their arrival. The Maya already had their own version of it. Before the Spanish arrived, the Maya didn't have cloves, oregano, cinnamon, garlic, or citrus fruits, and they didn't have pigs. Instead, they used deer, wild turkey, and peccary, and for their seasoning paste, they mainly relied on achiote and local chilies, which they would roast over the fire. After the Spanish arrived, new flavors began to blend with traditional ones. People started experimenting. That fusion eventually created the recipes we know and enjoy today. By the time we learned about the Recados, it was finally time to unearth the Cochinita Pibil and relleno negro. Chef Rosalia's son was helping with this part of the process, because in Mayan tradition, men are in charge of it. He carefully dug up the meat and opened the pib, lifting out the banana leaf-wrapped pots, where the pork, one marinated in recado rojo and the other in recado negro, had been slow cooking for hours. We watched the whole ritual, and the moment those lids came off, the aroma that escaped from the pots was unbelievable.
Este es la cochinita. Este es el relleno negro.
Chef Rosalía then walked us through the magic of the Mayan pib, an underground oven that has been used in the Yucatán for centuries. A shallow pit is dug into the earth and lined with stones, heated until they're glowing hot. The marinated meat is wrapped in banana leaves, placed into the pit, and covered so it can cook low and slow with the trapped heat. One important detail is that the pib never cooks with an active flame. The fire is only used at the start to heat the stones. Once the wood burns down, it's the embers that create the perfect, gentle heat. Flames would make too much smoke and overpower the flavor, so only the glowing embers are left to work their magic. The pit is then sealed with layers of leaves, cloth, and earth, locking in the heat and moisture for hours. When finally uncovered, the meat is beautifully tender, with subtle, smoky, earthy notes, a signature of Mayan cuisine. So preparing Cochinita Pibil is a process that begins long before the meat reaches the pib. After making the recado rojo, it's mixed with sour orange juice to marinate the pork. The citrus not only adds flavor, but also helps tenderize the meat. The fire for the pib is lit at dawn, so the stones have time to heat up. The pot is lined with banana leaves, the marinated pork goes in, and the pit is buried to cook slowly for 4 to 6 hours. For us, Chef Rosalía began the preparations around 6 a.m. She placed the meat in the pib at about 8, and it was unearthed just after noon, perfectly cooked. Before we moved on to the tasting, Chef Rosalía showed us how her family makes tortillas completely from scratch. And we really mean from scratch. The corn had been nixtamalized the night before. This is an ancient pre-Hispanic Mesoamerican technique where corn is soaked in lime water to soften it, boost its nutritional value, and loosen the hull so it's easier to grind into masa for tortillas and tamales. Chef Rosalía then hand-fed the corn through a mill to create fresh masa. We even sampled the masa on its own, and it was already delicious before it even became a tortilla. Once there was enough masa, one of Chef Rosalía's family members began shaping the tortillas by hand. And cooking them on a comal over an open fire. Just a couple of minutes on each side. While the tortillas puffed up, her son charred a few chilies and crushed them in a molcajete into a simple, rustic salsa for us to try. And no surprise, these tortillas were, without a doubt, the most delicious we've ever had. By the time everything was ready, the table was set, and we were invited to dig in. Before we began eating, Chef Rosalía shared a few kind words in Mayan, Spanish, and English.
Tene hachkima kimol uchikatal ashimbatan estinahil take in the flake inahile anahilesha tulakale hanatimak anakenahante eskoikishmachki yos botiquites o catalashimbatan estinahil. Lo que yo dije, estoy muy contenta de que me hayan visitado en mi casa. Mi casa es casa de ustedes. Qué bueno que van a disfrutar la comida que cociné y muchas gracias por la visita de ustedes. A ver si puedo. Voy a intentarla. Welcome, my house is your house. Enjoy the food. Thank you for coming.
We'd only had a light breakfast back at the hotel, so we were starving, and the smell of fresh tortillas and cochinita made the wait even harder. After all that anticipation, finally building a tortilla with a bit of salsa and that tender, juicy meat made it clear that every minute had been worth it. We wouldn't expect anything less from Rosalía Chay Chuc, and Netflix was absolutely right to celebrate her craft in its Chef's Table series. And once we finished, there was a final treat, a small pour of Stabentun, a traditional Yucatecan liqueur made with anise and honey. Its name comes from a white morning glory vine, and in the Mayan language, it means vines growing on stone. If you'd like to explore Mexico's spirits in more detail, we've published a full article. You'll find the link in the video description. The entire culinary experience lasts about 3 hours, but you'll be surprised by how quickly the time goes by. Before we knew it, it was almost time to head back to Valladolid. But your day in Yaxunah doesn't have to end there. You can squeeze in a bit more exploring. As it turns out, this little village has a couple of surprises up its sleeve. Just a short walk from Chef Rosalía's home is a cenote with the quirky name Lol-Ha, which means flower water in Yucatec Maya. So we wandered over to check it out. The cenote was well maintained and almost empty when we visited. We didn't swim, as we hadn't brought spare clothes, but the other couple from our tasting group came prepared and took a refreshing dip in the cool, clear water. On a hot day, it's the perfect place to cool off, just like the locals do. And maybe burn off a few of those Cochinita Pibil calories. Afterward, we took a short walk through the village center, where we came across the picturesque remains of an old church. Although detailed information about it is limited, it's believed to date back to the early 19th century. It's definitely worth a quick stop if you have the time. It offers a small glimpse into Yaxunah's past and adds to the town's authentic charm. Plus, it has a cinematic look and makes the perfect backdrop for some dramatic photos. On our way back to Valladolid, we spotted a sign for the Yaxunah Archeological Site and couldn't resist stopping to check it out. And we're so glad we did. It's an incredibly well-maintained site, and we had the entire place to ourselves. There are no crowds of tourists here, which makes the experience feel even more authentic and magical. As you explore, you'll find several exposed structures. And if you look closely, you'll notice small, overgrown hills that hide even more ruins beneath the surface. The local community takes great care of the site, keeping the grass trimmed and the pathways clear. If you have extra time, consider hiring a local guide for a small fee to learn more about the history of Yaxunah and its ancient buildings. Guided tours were only offered in Spanish when we visited and can be arranged right at the entrance to the site. We skipped it because we were short on time, but it's definitely on our list for next time. All in all, our day in Yaxunah was fantastic. And if you're planning to try Chef Rosalia's Cochinita Pibil, don't forget that you can also visit a beautiful cenote and an awe-inspiring archaeological site while you're there. 3 must-sees in a single trip. If you're into genuine cultural experiences, this is as authentic as it gets. If you decide to visit Chef Rosalía or try other culinary experiences with Mexico Lindo Cooking, we'll leave the links to their websites in the video description. This isn't sponsored. We're sharing them simply because we genuinely loved the experience. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really helps more people discover our channel.